Okay, pre-algebra section 5-4, multiplying and dividing fractions. Please think this is easier than adding and subtracting fractions, so hopefully you will too. I'll show you why. First of all, we need to understand some of the language. In number 1 through 10, it says find each quotient. Well, a quotient is the answer you get to a division problem. So that's what we're doing in 1 through 10. We're dividing. Let's see. Looks like some people had trouble with number 2. It's -5/24 divided by 7/12. Now, I told you last time that I always write my addition and subtraction fraction problems up and down, and I always leave my division and multiplication fraction problems right next to each other. It's just the thing I have. I don't care how you write them as long as you figure out how it goes. So I'm going to continue to write them this way. All you have to do to divide two fractions is we leave the first one alone, and the second one we multiply times the inverse. Well, to invert something means to turn it upside down. So if we turn the second one upside down, it looks like that. So we flip it over, and we multiply now instead of divide. So I have a -5 here. I'm going to multiply -5 times 20. That gives me -60. Negative times a positive. Down here I have 24 times 7. That's 168. I can see that those are both even. So if I divide that by 2, I get -30. If I divide this one by 2, I get 84. I can divide them by 2 again. Let's see, that's 15. And that's 42. 3 goes into both of those. So 3 goes into -15, -5 times, and 14. I think that's it. That's as much as I can divide that one down. So that's the reduced form, number 2, -5/4. And again, we started with a negative number times, or divided by, either way, times a positive. So my answer has to be negative, and I don't care where you put that negative. It can be up with the numerator. It can be out in front. Oops, that's not in front. Out in front. Or it can be with the denominator. They're all the same. They all make the whole fraction negative. Let's see. Let's try number 10. It says 1 3/7 divided by -2 1/7. Well, when we were adding and subtracting fractions, it was fine to leave them as mixed fractions. That really didn't hurt us in any way. But now that we are dividing, it makes things a lot simpler if we go ahead and turn them into improper fractions. And if you don't remember how to do that, we take our denominator, we multiply it times our whole number. So 7 times 1 is 7. And we add it to our numerator. So 7 times 1 is 7, plus 3 is 10, and our denominator doesn't change. And over here, I have 7 times 2 plus 1. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15. Denominator doesn't change. And this is a -2, so this is a negative fraction. Remember, I put it in front. I can put it up in here in front of the numerator. Denominator doesn't matter. It's a negative fraction. To divide a fraction, I have to invert the second fraction. So that becomes 7/15, and it's still negative. Just because I flipped it over doesn't make it not negative. And now I get to multiply. This is 10 times 7, which is 70, and 7 times 15 is 105. Looks like 5 would, oops, and I need a negative because it's a positive time, so my answer is going to be negative. It looks like 5 would go into both of those. 5 goes into 70 14 times. And 5 goes into that 21 times. And now I see a 14 and 21, and I know 7 goes into both of those. So 7 goes into 14 twice, and 7 goes into 21 3 times, and negative 2/3. All right, let's jump down here. Now, obviously, if we've gotten this far, we know how to multiply fractions. The second part of the page is all about multiplying fractions. I think really that should have come first. So I don't think I need to teach you how to multiply fractions. We just need to look at what happens when things change around a little bit. That seems to throw people off a little bit. Let's do number 15. 15 says negative 4 2/3 times negative 5 1/6. I have a negative times a negative. Well, we know that two negatives make a positive. So right now, I could just forget about the whole negative thing. I know my answer has to be positive. Negative times negative is positive. So I'm really not going to worry about that negative thing anymore. I do want to change these to improper fractions. It will help me multiply them. So 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 more is 14. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 1 is 31. Okay, now I need to multiply. That's going to be 18. And that's going to be a really big number. 434. Now I have here an improper fraction. And to fix an improper fraction, I divide 434 by 18. How many times does 18 go into 434 times? Now it's not going to come out evenly, but it turns out that it goes in 24 times. And I have one left over, so it actually goes into 433. I have one left over, and my 18 goes, nope, I have two left over. Let's see, 24 times 18, 432, yeah. I had two, so it's 24 and 2/18, and I can reduce the 2/18. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 18 9 times. So that's my final answer, and it's positive because I had a negative times a negative. Let's look at number 18. Also looks a little different. 5x over 7 times 3/10. Again, I just multiply straight across. The rules don't change just because it starts to look a little different with that 5x there. The rules haven't changed. So I have 5x times 3. That's 15x. And 7 times 10 is 70. And let's see, does that reduce? 5 would go into both. 5 goes into 15 3 times. And there's still an x. And 5 goes into 70 14 times. And that's my final answer. Let me do one more, and then I'm going to let you guys work on it some more. I have 9a over 10 times 5 over 12a. If I multiply those straight across, 9a times 5 is 45a, and 10a times 12a is 120a. Well, when we were doing some work with exponents a couple weeks ago, this would be a to the first and this would be a to the first, right? If there's nothing there, then it's a 1. Well, if I have a to the first and a to the first, if I'm going to divide variables, what do? I subtract their exponents. Well, 1 minus 1 is 0. And anything to 0 power is equal to 1. So these a's basically become 1 over 1. And because there's no operation listed there, we know that it's really multiplication between the 45 and the a. But now we've changed those to a 1 because that's what happens. So it's really 45 times 1 and 120 times 1, which means nothing happens here. They're just gone. They've canceled each other out. So I'm left with 45 over 120. I know that 5 goes into both of those. 5 goes into 45 9 times, and 5 goes into 120. Yeah. 24 times. That sound right? And let's see. 3 goes into both of those, so 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 goes into 24 8 times, so the answer is 3/8.